Welcome to Read Your Comics. Today I'm looking at The Incredible Hulk, number 345. Thanks for joining me today. I'm going to be diving into the climactic issue of the Peter David McFarlane Hulk run. But before I do that, I just want to say thanks to all the viewers' support. Every little comment, subscription is appreciated. If you're enjoying positive content, please consider hitting the thumbs up button. Comments are always encouraged. And hey, if you haven't already, why not subscribe so you never miss any future videos? I created this channel to entertain and inform, maybe even inspire you to read some comics. If you think that's a good message and feel other comic fans should get that in their feeds, then your likes, shares, and subs tell the YouTube algorithm to put it in front of them. Now let's get into the book. Right off the bat, I want to say this is probably tied for second place McFarlane cover of this Hulk run. The first one being the Wolverine cover, the issue before this with the full moon and him and Betty jumping, towards the camera's one. But I love this one. I love where the Hulk is wrecking into the logo. The Incredible is like falling down because his head's so big. I love this. This kind of encapsulates the McFarlane Hulk in this one shot. He's so big that, he doesn't even fit on the page, really. I love it. I love this cover. This is one of the last ones I picked up originally from the convenience store where I became a comic fan. That obviously isn't this copy because we don't have the UPC. But I do remember picking it up there, and it was all beat up because it's a double-sized issue, and this one took a beating on that newsstand. And it was pretty much right after that a friend at school told me there was a comic shop in town, and then I was pretty much a direct edition kid at that point. But yeah, this is one that I bought off the. It wasn't a spinner rack; it was like a magazine rack. But yeah, I'll always remember picking this one up off that shelf at the convenience store. Anyway, and point out like the corner box too. They just reduced it and took the image out so that they could fit the Hulk into the whole thing. So this is pretty much McFarlane's last issue as well. He does do layouts on the next one, and Eric Larson does finishes, but this is the one, this is like the end. And it's a double-sized issue, and you got to remember, at this point, he's already doing Amazing Spider-Man, and he had just wrapped up Amazing Spider-Man 300 maybe 2 months before. And then he's doing right into another double-sized issue. Props to McFarlane for putting out that kind of work. Even if this is his swan song on this series, and then he goes primarily just to Spider-Man, you got to admire the workload he was putting out. Not many artists were doing that at this stage of the comics industry, and he was one of them. So enough about the cover. Let's just jump on into the book. Unlike the other issues, we got kind of a slow burn for these first couple of pages as we establish this town of Middletown, with a population of 4,917 people. It starts with, we've got like a priest at a local church, not many people in the church, and he's kind of even pointing that out. And he gets a call from the vicar saying that there's been a discrepancy in the accounting. We cut over to somebody else in the town. We have two things going on here, starting with this couple, and they are both apparently lawyers, but she's a public defender, and she's already grumpy that she has to go to work and defend somebody who's probably guilty. And it's weighing on her professionally and emotionally and everything. Got a teenage girl here whose mom doesn't like the boyfriend. The dad just is disconnected altogether, but the mom is dissing the boyfriend. She's, storming out of the house on her way to school. Outside of town, the nearby newspaper truck has been toppled over and destroyed the newspapers that were headed to the town. And it says military base raided, gamma bombs stolen. And that's what happened in the last issue. The leader sent Rock and Redeemer, and they stole a gamma bomb. Cut to the leader, and he's kind of going over his plans here for his checklist, because this is the culmination of it all. So he's checking off that the newspapers to this small town have been intercepted, and the town's not getting that news. Finally get our title page of Rick saying, what? And so you think that's about the gamma bomb or something, but the title of the issue is Closing Curtain. There's our credits. So in this one, actually, Todd is only credited with breakdowns. And Jim Sanders, who was the inker earlier in the McFarlane run, he's credited with finishes with an assist from Chris Ivey. This still has a very McFarlane look to it and feel to it. So I was just heaping praise on McFarlane for the workload of doing another double-sized issue. And this still, I mean, it still has like the faces and stuff. That looks very McFarlane-y. I was going to say Sanders probably cut corners on the inking job of it, but now that I see that he's finishing, McFarlane was probably doing some pretty rough layouts in this, quite honestly. And it's a McFarlane book, so we still got to have the Felix right there. So Rick was saying, "Oh, what?" And when he screamed, "What?" Clay, driving their Shield camper van, hits the brake. It throws them all on the floor. And he jumps up like, "What's going on? What's going on?" And Bruce says, "It's a baby. We're having a baby." And Clay's like, "Oh, that's great." Betty doesn't seem very excited about sharing the news because that was revealed. Well, it was really revealed a couple issues back when the leader had her captive and saw it on like his life monitoring system. But she told the Hulk in the last issue. And then they hear on the radio about the bomb being stolen already. Cut back to our town. We meet a guy who's selling encyclopedias coming into town, and he notices these workers. So he stops to talk to him for a second, and he's like, "What are you guys doing?" And they say they're burying these little boxes, that some guy hired us to bury these boxes in a perimeter around the town. And he's like, "What are they for?" He's like, "Who cares? We need a job." I guess I should have mentioned earlier in the part with the priest, he's talking about how there was once a mill in the town that closed down. So, you know, it's having some economic hardship. So you're like, why would these guys take a job? No questions asked. Well, they probably worked in that mill, and somebody's like, "Here, these are these boxes, just you bury them in these places around the town." And they're like, "Okay, like whatever you say, as long as you're paying, it doesn't matter." And as he goes through the town, he hits the thing that says radio. Oh, yeah, because he says, "Hey, my radio. Weird, worked a minute ago." And you see the leader, So he's cutting out the radio. He's taking out the newspaper, and now he's taking out the radio. He's really trying to cut this town off from any kind of communication from the outside world. So they finally get to the base where the Gamma bombs are held. Clay uses his Shield ID, and it even mentions, like, he hopes that they don't know that he's really, like, an outlaw from Shield right now. So that gets him access to be able to go check out the Gamma stockpile, and we get basically the same shot we had last issue. And the video footage shows Rock and Redeemer, which they immediately recognize as Saunders and Lyricat. And then we get this Hulk, and this is where you can kind of already tell McFarlane's missing from some of this issue, because this is not a very detailed Hulk. Now, it turns out this Hulk is just a robot that Rock and Redeemer are practicing on. And I got to think, too, this is something that McFarlane probably would have done more detail on the wreckage of this robot had he done the full thing. So then Rock and Redeemer are kind of asking the leader about his plans, and the leader's lying to him. And he checks off lie to Rock and Redeemer off his checklist. So they pull away from the Gamma base. It's not Gamma base. They pull away from just this military base that has the Gamma stockpile. And they're already coming up with their plan. Clay says, "Our next move is obvious. We wait until dark, and then the Hulk can go in there and trash the remaining bombs." I like that Bruce has this like thought of, here it comes, the Bruce speech. Oh no, Clay is saying it. Here it comes, the Bruce speech, where he gets all stubborn because I suggested using brute strength in general, and the Hulk in particular, to solve the problem. Bruce is like, "You're right, Clay. They must be destroyed." I mean, Bruce is kind of in shock. I think he's having a little PTSD maybe of seeing the Gamma bombs and, you know, just his own experience with it. And he's like, "Yep, we got to send the Hulk in to do it." When all of a sudden on their radio, they get an intercept by the leader. And the leader is telling them that he has placed his bomb in the small town of Middletown, in the heart or the fabric of the town. He says that specifically, in the fabric of this small town, and that it's set to go off at 10 p.m. And so at first they're like, he's he's bluffing. He's bluffing. He's trying to lead us away from here to destroy these bombs. And Clay's like, what does he take us for, an idiot? And then you got Bruce saying, nope, there's lives at stake. We need to go take care of this. So start moving, with the shadow of the Hulk looming over. So Bruce showing concern of like, we can't assume he's bluffing when there's thousands of lives at stake with a weapon that I created. More build up in the town with the girl wanting to run away with her boyfriend. The mom of the girl meets the encyclopedia salesman who just slams the door in his face. I guess it hits him like literally in his face because he's bleeding right there. The lawyer who woke up in the morning in the middle of supposed to be defending the guy, she changes and says, no, he's pleading guilty. He's terrible. He's an animal, blah, blah, blah. So the judge even holds her in contempt and throws her in the cell. The preacher comes to admit that he has been taking money from the church, and he said he was going to put it back as soon as more money started coming back in, but it seems like he's remorseful that he wasn't doing it for malicious purposes, but it sounds like this town was just having an economic hardship. So they're really trying to establish and give some stakes to some people in this small town and their mundane lives. Finally, we see the van making it to Middletown. They kind of like, I wonder what those workers are up to. Who cares? We got to move on into town. Generators. Check. Feed doctored newspapers. So they go straight to the mayor, which is pretty smart. You're in this town. You're like, we got to go straight to the person who can tell the town to evacuate. Of course, they just barge into his office, and he has no clue who they are. The local paper is like a fake paper that the leader fed to the town. So they don't believe him, and he's like, the TV's off, the radio's not working. They're like, well, call the Gamma base, I keep calling it the Gamma base. Call the military base where the Gamma bombs were stolen from. So he does. And they're saying, no raid, General? Tell me, have you heard of S.H.I.E.L.D.? Oh, you have? Disbanded a year ago, you say? And Bruce grabs the phone. He's like, leader, it's you, isn't it? And the leader laughs. No one's going to believe you. Why, it's the famous Dr. Banner. You'd best get out of town, Dr. Banner, before you're belted by gamma rays. Bruce Banner, belted by gamma rays. Anyway, so the mayor basically tells him to leave. They decide they're going to tell the town themselves. So they start announcing it. Of course, they just come across looking like loonies. Nobody believes them. Like a van's going through telling everybody to evacuate. There's nothing on TV about it. There's nothing in the newspaper about it. No other official source. So nobody believes it, right? Finally, the police are going to pull them over. And it just so happens it's sundown, which I don't know did they show the sun coming down? They don't even show the sun coming down, but it just so happens it is at sundown. The Hulk comes out like, yeah, it's sundown, all right. Wish he'd use the door for once. This is the first time I think that I've seen him like bust through the side of a van. This is where you're missing the McFarlane details on the face. You're definitely getting these McFarlane layouts, though. Now, I will say, compared to the next issue where Larson does the finishes, you see a lot more Larson come through. In this one, I feel like you're just getting a diluted McFarlane with the Jim Sanders inking, whereas the next one we'll see next week, you see a lot of Larson in it. Anyway, so the Hulk, first he smashes the police car, they run out, and he picks up the van and jumps away out of town. They're like, what are you doing, Hulk? You're going the wrong way. And he sets him down and breaks the wheels off, and he's saying, you broke the wheels, and now you're going to leave us here? Are you nuts? No, Clay. Don't you understand? He did it to protect us, to keep us far away from danger. He's not taking any chances. And the Hulk's like inner monologue here. Bull, I just want the leader for myself, and don't need them mucking it up. But if that's what she wants to believe, swell. No skin off my nose. And if it makes her happy, let her have a little happiness. I love that because he was totally doing it to save him. Totally doing it to save him. This is a child tantrum. My 9-year-old does this to me when I say I'm going to give him some consequence. And he's like, I don't care. Like, that's exactly what the Hulk is doing right here. He does care, but he's trying to act all tough, even just to himself. He's trying to act tough because he's not outwardly saying anything. A few issues ago, he would have. So the Hulk heads back to town. They've figured out the riddle of fabric of the town is this industrial fabric place or mill that they mentioned earlier. So it's abandoned. And we're doing another industrial thing. We've already done a paper mill and, of course, the farm area. And now we're doing the fabric mill, I guess. Anyhow, so the Hulk goes in. There's an old tape player there. It says, "Play me, Hulk." Thankfully, this Hulk can read. I don't know. Could the Green Hulk read? I don't recall him ever reading a sign or anything. More about the people in town. Again, we're just trying to build the stakes of this town. It's getting less and less, though. You're just getting like one panel and stuff of them. And they're just kind of coming to realize their positions in life. Here's your mill. And then the leader starts explaining what's going on, why he's doing this. He basically just wants to destroy the Hulk and get him out of the way for any future plans he wants to do. Why did he go to these elaborate extremes? Total supervillain monologuing here. Rock and Redeemer step in, and they get their chance to crack at the Hulk. And here we have some pretty solid action. But it's watered down. It's definitely watered down. That's Rock in his better form, taking it on. You should get a lot of smashing right here, right? I like this panel. And this one's really good too. You get a lot of... You forget how fast the Hulk can move sometimes. And as we kind of just move through the action, he realizes they are in over their head. Why he's like, why do we keep going back after the Hulk? We always lose. That's what that expression says. So he fires at the Hulk. Another great one there. You can tell where McFarlane maybe did a little bit more, took a little bit more attention to the layouts than some other pages. But this is definitely one I feel like he had some fun. Probably put a little bit more detail in. Crushes his arm. Look at that scream. It's a big open mouth. Here comes Rock in his wheelchair, and he's going to turn his tornado thing on, and the Hulk throws Redeemer into it. And remember, this tore up tanks. He did this through a tank before. He immediately feels guilty. The Hulk says, "You know what, Rock? I think you killed him. Big mistake. Almost as big as hovering there long enough for me to get my hands on you." And here's a pretty good action sequence here. This is finally getting Rock doing something kind of cool. Of course, he's made out of rock. What is he gonna do to the Hulk, really? I like this, your vertical panel with the jagged edges coming in to know that he's in some pain as the Hulk. He must be feeling the pain of the appendages getting ripped off. And the Hulk does kind of like he did to Loki in the Avengers movie. Wham, wham. And finally, the leader intervenes. The leader says, "I knew I was going to have to step in eventually, so here I am." And here's the bomb, by the way. And then he grows real big. And even the Hulk's like, "What the?" Which is what I was thinking too. I was like, how is the leader going to do this? And he smacks the Hulk away. And there's a little bit here. This, I thought, something's missing here. You have the Hulk holding up the foot of the leader, but then he's able to get his hands free somehow enough to do a thunderclap. And that jars whatever the leader was doing here. I think he was using some mental power to mess with the Hulk's mind about what was happening. So maybe the Hulk was able to just overcome it enough to realize it wasn't even there. And instead of trying to hold it up, he just clapped his hands. But that's not super clear right there. Anyway, and the leader's like, "Well, I thought my earplugs would work, but obviously that wasn't right." And he says, "Look behind you." Oh, here it is. So you see Rock getting up and forming just one big spike. 2 hours left on the bomb, still plenty of time. Good shot here with the shadows looming large, because that's going to set up the next page. Establish the shadows. Because he tells Hulk, "Look behind you, Hulk, heading your way." Oh, right. Like I'm going to fall for that. And Rock comes up behind the Hulk and stabs him all the way through. What is that? All right, let's do a little close-up of that shot. Yeah. That's an interesting place to put that spike. Anyhow, so the leader's telling him to finish it, and Rock says that he can't. That's all the strength he had was. That's all the strength he could muster up. Was this one spike to ram it through the Hulk. I'll kill you. And the leader's like, I believe you would, but we're going. So he uses his teleporter to like matter transporter to transport him away, leaves the bomb there. Still 2 hours, still plenty of time to go, right? This is a great panel of the Hulk bleeding, dragging his body across. It must have got him pretty good. Must have left a pretty big hole. It's taken a few minutes to heal. Once again, we get our folks, and they all have some similar dialogue here. The judge is in a good mood. You're free to go. So that's our lawyer. Here's our teenage girl. Just another few hours, and I'm free. Wait for her boyfriend to come pick her up. As soon as the trouble on the phone is fixed, I'll call the vicar and be free of this guilt. No more encyclopedias. I'm free of this lousy job. So, kind of a theme going there. Hulk's still crawling his way across the floor. S.H.I.E.L.D. shows up finally. Nick Fury asks Clay what's going on. Hulk's almost at the bomb. And then you see the leader's little checklist again. Activate generators. And look what's below it. Detonate the bomb. So as the encyclopedia man is trying to leave, this barrier goes up. And they're like, it's some sort of force field, and it's completely covering the town. So now nobody can get in or out of the town. It's too late. He activated the generators. That's what those guys were burying around the town, were the generators. So he's wanting to get out. Here's our 4 people. We get these quick cuts, and you notice it gets smaller and smaller each time we see them. We get the quick cuts of the people. Wait, who's this guy? Oh, that's the mayor. There's the bomb. He's like, I did it. Goodbye, Hulk. 5 seconds. Uh-oh. Bruce. Betty. He whispers it. Some good dramatic ending. And then it's like, oh man, an ad. This is what we're going to get at the end. The letters page. I don't want that right now. I want this. And there it is. The climax to the story. The gamma bomb goes off, wipes out this town of almost 5,000 people, and the Hulk is still in there. And that is the end. That's the end of the story. Well, we've got one more kind of an epilogue to it. But as of this moment, the Hulk is dead. I mean, he blew up in a gamma bomb, right? This is the end of the series. We're going to wrap it up next time. Until then, read your comics.